I helped this orchid come back to life. With just banana peels and a little rice, can we revive a dying orchid? I will experiment for a month to see if the orchid can recover. Let's watch the results. Dear friends, when observing orchids in your garden and noticing symptoms like these, the most important thing is not to rush to discard the plant, but to calmly and patiently examine each step to find a way to save it. For orchids that suddenly stop flowering, accompanied by weak and wilted leaves, it's very common for bacteria and mold to have started attacking. The leaves may only look slightly yellow or soft on the outside, but in reality, the pathogens are developing quite rapidly inside. When carefully examining the leaves, you will see that the leaf surface and crevices often accumulate a lot of bacteria and mold. Next, I will begin addressing fungal diseases on the orchid. Upon closer observation, you will see leaves rotting from the tip and spreading downwards. This is usually a sign that bacteria or fungi have attacked from the leaf tip and spread into the plant tissue. These rotten parts should not be kept. They should be cut off immediately and disposed of away from the orchid growing area to prevent the disease from spreading to other plants. After that, I will lift the orchid out of the pot for a more thorough inspection. When checking the growing medium, you will often find it too wet and retaining water for too long. This damp environment is very favorable for fungal diseases to develop and cause root rot. Looking at the roots, you will see that many roots have begun to weaken and show signs of damage. Next, I will remove all the old potting mix from the pot. This mix has been used for a long time, has decomposed, and has accumulated a lot of bacteria and fungi, making it unsuitable for growing orchids. As you can see here, because the old mix retained moisture for too long, the orchid's roots have been significantly damaged. When the roots have already started to deteriorate like this, keeping the old mix will only accelerate root rot. Therefore, the crucial step is to remove all the old mix, leaving only the healthy part of the plant. In the next step, I will use clean scissors to trim the orchid's roots. Any rotten, brown or soft roots must be completely removed. If left, bacteria and fungi will continue to spread to the healthy roots. As you can see here, the flower stalks and stems have also started to rot at the leaf axils. In such cases, I will cut off the entire flower stalk to prevent the disease from spreading to the stem. Next, I carefully inspect each leaf axis. Any damaged leaves showing signs of rot or fungal infection must be removed immediately. This leaf is rotted at the base, so I will cut it off completely to protect the healthy stem. After pruning, we will see that the remaining parts of the plant still have healthy roots and living tissue. I will keep these fresh, firm parts, as they are the foundation for the orchid to recover and grow again. Once all the damaged roots and diseased leaves have been cleaned, we will move on to the next step of treating and restoring the orchid. Next, I will take the orchid out to thoroughly clean it. This step is quite important, as the leaves and roots often accumulate a lot of dust, bacteria, and mold after a period of cultivation. I gently rinse the plant with clean water, carefully washing the leaves and roots to remove all the impurities clinging to the surface. This completes the cleaning process, leaving the leaves and roots feeling more refreshed. Next, I will prepare a clean container. Then, I will pour in about 1000 milliliters or 1 liter of clean water. In the next step, I will use baking soda. Baking soda helps clean the plant's surface, prevents mold growth, and creates a safer environment around the orchid roots before we proceed with the next care steps. I take a spoonful of baking soda and add it directly to the prepared container of water. Next, I stir well until the baking soda is completely dissolved in the water. Next, I prepared a clean container. Then I place the entire orchid root system into the container. Once the plant was stable, I poured in the prepared baking soda solution, ensuring that the roots and base of the orchid were completely submerged. I soaked the plant for about 30 minutes. We shouldn't throw away the remaining baking soda solution. I put all the pine bark into a clean container, then pour in the baking soda solution until the substrate is completely submerged. This step helps clean and reduce any remaining fungi and bacteria in the pine bark, so that when the orchid is replanted, the roots will have a safer and more aerated environment to develop. We soak it for about 30 minutes. By this time, the solution has helped to eliminate bacteria, fungi, and pathogens clinging to the plant, making it much cleaner and safer. Next, I use a soft, clean cotton cloth to wipe the entire stem and leaves. This step helps remove any remaining dirt and mold on the plant's surface. Once the plant is completely clean, I let it air dry and then we'll move on to the next step. Next, I will disinfect the cuts on the orchid. I use a candle, heat the wax, and then apply a layer of candle wax to the cut on the orchid stem. This layer of wax will act as a protective barrier, sealing the wound and preventing water and dirt from entering the plant. After applying the candle wax to the cut, I place the orchid outside for a while to allow the wax to dry and stabilize. Then we will proceed to the next step in the plant's recovery process. We had previously soaked the pine bark in the solution for about 30 minutes, so the dirt, bacteria, and mold had been significantly cleaned. Now I removed all the pine bark and let it air dry naturally. After processing, the cuts on the orchid have dried and begun to heal. The roots have also been completely cleaned, free of dirt or signs of mold. I prepare a pot with good drainage holes, which is crucial to prevent waterlogging and root rot. Next, to soak and drain the pine bark, placing a large layer at the bottom of the pot to provide aeration for the roots. Then, I place the orchid in the center of the pot, securing the base, and continue adding more pine bark around it. This completes the process of replanting the orchid in its new growing medium. After securing the orchid in the pot, I covered the surface of the growing medium with a thin layer of moss. This moss helps maintain stable moisture for the roots, making it easier for the orchid to adapt during its recovery and new root growth phase. And that completes the process of repotting the orchid into its new pot. After planting the orchid in the pot, I placed another plastic pot with many drainage holes on top. Then I used clips to secure it on either side. The purpose was to keep the plant stable, protect it from strong winds, and prevent dust and insects from directly contacting it during the initial stages. Next, I moved the pot to a shady, well-ventilated spot in the garden to allow the plant time to adapt to its new environment. After about a day, when the plant had stabilized, I began caring for it and adding nutrient solutions to help the orchid recover and grow healthier. Next, I used bananas, a very familiar ingredient at home. When we eat bananas, don't throw away the peel, because banana peels contain many nutrients beneficial to orchids such as potassium, phosphorus, and many natural vitamins that help the plant recover and grow better. After preparing the peels, I cut them into small pieces. Doing so allows the nutrients in the peels to dissolve more easily and be absorbed more effectively by the orchid during the next processing. Next, I will prepare a clean container or box. Then, I put all the chopped bananas into the container to begin the next step of processing. Next, I'll add another very familiar ingredient from the kitchen, rice. Rice grains contain many natural nutrients, especially vitamin B, which is very good for the recovery and growth stimulation of orchids. I added about 3 tablespoons of rice to combine with the previous ingredients, creating a natural nutrient mixture that helps the orchid grow healthier. Next, I'll add about 500 milliliters of boiling water. Once the water is added, I stir the mixture well so that the nutrients from the ingredients begin to dissolve in the water, allowing the ingredients to ferment slightly and release more nutrients. After a day of incubation, our banana and rice mixture has begun to dissolve and ferment slightly. Next, I will filter out all the sediment, keeping only the clear liquid containing nutrients. Thus, we have obtained a nutrient solution from lightly fermented bananas and rice, rich in minerals and vitamins, which can be used to help orchids recover and grow better. After a day of planting, our orchid has now begun to settle in the pot. I checked and found that the roots have attached and adapted to the growing medium, and the previous cuts are drying and gradually healing. Next, I started caring for the plant by watering the roots. I watered directly onto the roots and growing medium, aiming to maintain sufficient moisture for the orchid's roots. When the roots and growing medium have stable moisture levels, the roots will quickly develop and firmly attach to the pot, thus helping the orchid recover and grow better. After watering, I soaked the entire pot in water for about 20 minutes to allow the growing medium to absorb enough moisture. After this time, I removed the pot to drain, preventing root rot. Finally, I placed the orchid back in its original location in the garden, a well-ventilated area with soft, shady light. After 4 weeks of care, my orchid showed very clear signs of recovery. Just 28 days later, a new shoot had sprouted from the base of the plant, growing very healthily and vigorously. This was a sign that the plant had begun its true recovery phase. Many new roots had grown, extending and gradually reaching the edge of the pot. When the orchid has started rooting like this, it means its adaptation to the new environment has stabilized. Not only the roots, but the leaves also gradually recovered, becoming greener and sturdier than before. With a healthy root system, the orchid will absorb water and nutrients better, thus recovering much faster. After this stage, I will continue using natural fertilizers to care for the orchids, helping them to grow more steadily in the future. I continued to prepare the banana and rice nutrient solution according to the original recipe. I use a spray bottle to evenly spray the entire leaves, roots, and base of the orchid so that the plant can absorb nutrients naturally. I use this nutrient solution every 2 weeks, or about twice a month, leading to healthy root development and vigorous growth. On normal days, I only mist the plant to keep it moist and water it with clean filtered water about every 3 days. When watering, I usually water directly onto the roots and growing medium to ensure the roots have enough moisture and develop steadily. After watering, I occasionally soak the entire pot in water for a short time to help the growing medium absorb enough water, creating the best conditions for the roots to continue developing. After that time, I remove the pot and let it drain. At this stage, our orchid has started to develop new roots and leaves, so it doesn't need to be covered as tightly as when it was weak. I only lightly cover the roots on the surface of the growing medium to retain moisture for stable root development. Then, I move the orchid pot to the garden and place it in a shady, well-ventilated location with gentle light. After about 3 months of persistent care, my orchid truly revived and entered a vigorous growth phase. New leaves began to develop, thicker, sturdier, and a deep green, proving that the plant was photosynthesizing well and its health had stabilized. What surprised me most was that the plant produced 2 flower stalks at the same time. Seeing the 2 healthy flower stalks, I became even more convinced that sometimes an orchid that seemed beyond repair can recover if we care for it properly and patiently wait. This is the result of meticulous care and perseverance over the past period. Once the orchid has matured, it only needs a short time longer to enter its vibrant flowering season. Many people think that weak orchids should be discarded, but in reality, with regular and proper care, we can completely help them recover and produce beautiful flowers. What do you think of this orchid care method? Don't hesitate to leave a comment and share your thoughts. I really want to hear your feedback and experiences. Every share from you is a valuable source of motivation that helps us learn and love plants more each day. In the next video, I'll reveal a new method to revive careful orchids, helping them sprout roots and bloom incredibly fast.